inconsistency, okay? And so one thing that I found today, because I've been kind of looking at this book, there's the Secret Teachings, and then this book, which is much smaller. But this book was a translation, or is a translation of a series of lectures that he did for this religious organization. He and the leader of that organization, Masahisa Goi, were close friends. And the Secret Teachings are basically things that he kind of interviews, things that he did for the Aikido Shimbun or newsletter. So it's a slightly different audience, and he goes into things. They're very, most of it's the same, but there's a bunch of stuff that seems a little different. Okay, and since we're going to do some sword today, this is from page 47. In Aikido, a single cut of a sword manifests the cosmic breath of heaven and earth. Okay, so he saw the sword not just as a weapon or as a training tool. Again, in Aikido, a single cut of the sword manifests the cosmic breath of heaven and earth. Okay, so when he, in that, a single cut, there's a lot going on. And I just want to read the next part because it's interesting. When a human being breathes, he or she breathes circularly on the exhalation and squarely on the inhalation. Okay, so he's into, the shapes of triangle, circle, square, and he doesn't really reference the triangle right there. He references circle, square. So let's go over that again. When a human being breathes, he or she breathes circularly on the inhalation, on the exhalation, and squarely on the inhalation. Let the essence of the universe circulate with your body and let it purify your senses. The circle is the form of water. The square is that of fire. So he's referencing, again, the primal parent forces of the universe, yin to yang, fire, water. Circular is the breath of heaven, square is the breath of earth. These techniques are combinations of breath of heaven and earth. Breath of heaven and breath of earth. This is what we must do in our training, and trust that all the myriad gods of heaven and earth will protect and guide us. Aikido is our mission, a mission we should be eternally grateful for. Okay, so he references the sword, and he references breath, he references fire, water, he references the shapes of square and circle. An interesting circle on the exhale, square on the inhale. Circle, water, square, fire. And so the in-breath, fire, circle, water. So there's an area, you know, where you're kind of looking at the fact, okay, that in some sense it's very difficult to try to figure that stuff out. And if you're thinking square, fire, circle, water, it kind of tends to kind of jarble what you're doing. For example, if you're going to swing the sword, you swing the sword. If you're thinking about shapes and fire, water, it tends to not go well. Okay, so the plan for today is to take this, we'll work a little bit with the sword, and we'll go till about 12:30. And I'm integrating some Tai Chi movements into the class. So the last half hour, we're going to go into the Tai Chi movements, okay? And let me, okay. In breath, square. Out breath, circle. In breath, fire. Out breath, water. And I get really cluttery thinking about that, so. If I try to integrate all that as information, I get very, very busy up here. In breath, fire. Out breath, water. So just the in breath. Square, kind of a grounding feeling. Out breath, water. A flowing motion. I'm starting to go back and forth, but in breath. Fire, ground. Out breath. Water, heaven. Now there's a physical act of breathing. And there's what Sensei refers to as cosmic breath. So information, physical breathing, trying to make the physical breathing into something called more cosmic. It's a cosmic level to it. Starting to open. So getting the breath, not just in, out, exhalation, but and not just a thought, but in breath, fire, square, out breath, water, circle. In breath, fire, square, earth, out breath, circle, heaven, maybe. So you're adding a little bit. Okay. Now, if you have something where you can safely do this, and lurking up there is a lamp, and I don't want to break it with my swinging motion. So, Here we have a reasonable full body, full body, full body, full body. Okay? Raise, lower. Now there's how to cut with a sword. Okay, so now I'm thinking about water, fire, trying to think about how to coordinate the breathing. Just be a little easier with it. View it as a lifting motion. How much does fire weigh? Fire is fire. It's coming out of something combusting. What combusts weighs. There are other ways of measuring fire. Likewise, water. You know, boom. Tidal wave. Water waves can weigh a little bit in a cup or a lot, depending on how much water and whether or not there's a wave action to it. So fire, water. Fire, water. Fire, water. Fire, water. The form of the cut. Now, we can raise all the way here, and generally, boom, you're cutting out there. But this cut, okay? So how much does fire weigh? Fire can jump. Fire is energy, the energy of combusting something. It obviously needs air. There's no fire in a vacuum. Yeah? And boom. There's a tendency right here to, but if fire whistles away, boom, boom, boom. Now at the very end of it, there is you don't twist the arms, but if all of a sudden there's a way, boom, there's a way where that sword almost goes that way and the hands rotate. Boom. 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 And that feeling of the wave, how much weight will the water be? Boom. The water is in motion off of that wave. Tidal wave is not the water. It's something moving through the water, organizing the water. So I'm looking out there for it. So nice easy feeling of a center. You've got fire, you've got water, you've got in-breath, you've got out-breath. And right in the middle of both of those is you as a center. See the up and the down, see the fire goes down, water goes up and out. Fire goes down squarely. Breath goes up and out circularly. Boom. Boom. So right now I'm not thinking about swing fast. Thinking, boom. Okay. So let's just see. Anybody out there swinging along? Okay. See, a lot of the stuff you don't have to, but if you move, you get into the experience of the feel that's generated by it. If you just watch, you kind of you're in more of a study mode. So the motion, sometimes if you're not, that's okay. It's all right. But move. Some of my best cuts are without the sword. See, when somebody in Aikido, somebody grabs your wrist, you don't pick up a sword and hit them with it. But you may, right? So that raising motion, is kokyu-ho. Boom. So, anybody, David, any observations? Any observations?
It's different every day.
Yeah, that's good. It is. I mean, the whole thing is, there's some guidelines, but one thing Go Sensei says, he says that the universe is in constant evolution, growth, transformation. Therefore, we should be also. Okay, so yeah, I mean, you can do this motion, boom, 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 boom. And the experience of it can be different every day. On that day, Go Sensei talked about it. He was really talking about fire in, water out, fire in square, water out circle. He didn't really even reference the triangle, okay, which is interesting. And another day, it might have been pretty much the same thing, but he might have highlighted it from a different angle. Cliff, anything?
I said, yeah, I had 13 kids. My wife was at work, so I had to duck out for a minute.
Yeah, I didn't quite get that. Yeah. I didn't quite get what you said. It got kind of garbled.
Okay. Hi. So I was enjoying the breathing part and the sword work integrated with the breathing, but then I had to feed more lunch to two of my kids, and the third one was playing piano, and my wife's at work, so I'm kind of doing what I can here.
Yeah, well, we'll just go back. So let's take a second. See how much, you don't really have to lift fire. Fire may bloom. Boom. So, boom. It's a quality when fire, water. I really think of the in as fire square, grounding right now, water, circular, out. And right about there, instead of tightening on that, see if all of a sudden there's a tidal wave, a tremendous there, like boom. We use the image sometimes where we're dropping a safe on a chain, and when the safe hits the bottom of the chain, boom. That's the end of it. Right? This is slightly different, boom. You can really think of it as boom. That tidal wave. And it's interesting that the fire, for example, how much does fire weigh? Well, the material that's combusting into the fire has weight, but that will change as fire kind of oxidizes it, okay? And water has weight, but really water by itself, you know, you can get into a pool of it. But the cut is motion, motion. And if we can sort of get the very, so it's a wave too. Boom. I'm willing to bet, since it goes out circularly, it doesn't circle just that way, it circles. Boom. Boom. See, if it circles this way, for example, at the very end of it, when the wave crashes, you get the closing motion of the hands. Boom. If it's just going this way, you're going to twist with this hand. If it's just going that way, you're going to twist with that hand. But if they're both, if it's going circularly in both directions, then boom. Boom. The nice thing about water, it's not something that, it's something in motion. And the volume of the water in motion. Okay, and the breath, the cosmic breath of heaven and earth. Okay, now you're talking about in breath, out breath, but breath is breath, it's not in or out. So my guess would be, what is the cosmic breath of heaven and earth? Fire, square, earth, water, circle, heaven. But what is the breath of heaven and earth? The cosmic breath would be you as the center. Okay? So as you begin to boom, 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 boom. Okay? And so, anybody with an observation on that? Just going into the cutting motion and relating it to breath and fire, water. David, anything?
When you started talking about fire and water, and then how fire has, you know, weight, it made me begin to feel as though things were being buoyant. You know, the fire goes up because it's more buoyant than the surrounding air. If I exist in water, I'm more buoyant. It lifts me up.
Okay. And, you know, the sense is also right here. People put weight in the cut. But fire, water. Fire, water. I mean, if there was a huge tidal wave coming down, the water would weigh something, but the wave is a wave, right? But all that boom, it's not a static, the water's going to hit me, but boom. So the actual boom, the freedom of the fire on the red, boom. and also the weight of the water being moved by the wave, boom, gives the cut a very different feeling. Okay, Cliff, anything?
Yeah, I was focused on more the square circle with the breathing,
Yeah,
and I realized that the triangle was in the stance. So the
Yeah.
feet were and body were doing the triangle, and then the in breath was the square and the circle. So the square was kind of like the sharp movement of the sword, and the circle was kind of like the curving movement of the sword, built on a triangle. That's where I was going.
well, yeah, the feet, obviously, you are in a triangular posture. You can cut this way. But in Aikido, we stand in a Hanmi triangle to cut. Okay? Now here, boom, that motion can be very, very instantaneous as well. See, I'm thinking 1, 2, but the triangle, if you are the breath of heaven and earth, boom. If that's your center, I mean, you see what I mean? In, out, but he references fire, water as a way of kind of, the fire and the water, they kind of harmonize with each other, and they sort of produce the cosmic breath or breath, and you become the breath. And that's a difficult one for a lot of people. David, I did manage to forget my clock, so what's the time like?
It's almost 12:30.
Okay, so let's swing a couple more, then we'll shift to the Tai Chi. Okay? Now I gotta make sure I don't hit that, all right? We're just swinging. See, you can have an exaggerated stance, but you tend to tightening that way. So I stand a natural Hanmi. Boom, boom. See, the feeling here is that wave is still crashing. Boom. That's the feeling, another way of the safe hitting the bottom of the chain. Boom. But okay. Anyway, I'm going to put this here. And we're going to shift into the Tai Chi section. Now, Tai Chi, one of the things we can do, for example, is a breathing system that not O-sensei, but Master Chori used, where you kind of make two fists, and they're not clenched. They're like a baby. But they're not like sloppy. It's like that. Sometimes a baby grabs your finger and he's like, gosh, they're strong, but they're not this strong. They're something else. Okay? And so you put heels together. In breath. Out breath. In breath. And out breath. All right? Now that's breathing through the nose, and you're breathing to this area. But you're breathing like a baby breathes, not trying to. All right? In. Out. In. And out. Let's do one more. In. out, in, and out. Good. Okay, all right. And if you have, you can use your Vulcan if you want. But again, we're going over really just a review of the basic steps. Okay, so again, you lower the center. Okay, intensity is not dropping your weight. If you drop your weight, your butt sticks out. Okay. Okay. First step, turn out the left, shift the weight here. Notice how the knee stays bent. See, I'm going to move the leg. I don't want to do that. But I'm on the toe of my left foot. I'm going to take a heel toe step straight ahead. That's what Master Choi called 90 degrees to where you're standing. Okay? Knee covers toe. The back foot, toe turns in. Because if I leave that, see my knee is twisting. The knee and ankle, toe turn in. This covers the knee. It goes a little too far. I'm unstable, but if I'm here, I'm too locked and fixed. Okay, okay, and that's a shoulder width. Okay, and we did a step with the right foot. You can do the straight ahead 90-degree step. You turn out. Then you keep the hips low. Toe here. This is going to be a 30-degree step. Heel, toe. Knee covers toe. Back foot, knee and toe turn in. And if we go back here, we have a kind of a shoulder width back foot. It's not an Aikido, which we stand in a triangle so much. Tai Chi, it integrates the square. Okay? So we did that. And then we actually did where we combined them, starting with the left. Again, you see, you keep the knee bent. You're on the toes here. Heel, toe. Now, what I'm going to do is raise onto the toes. I'm going to take the 30-degree step that way. Heel, toe. Knee covers toe. Toe turns in. And from here I'm aligning and turning. Same direction as the back foot, back knee. Here, the direction of the forward knee and toe. Don't face the knee, you twist the back. It's just they're facing the same direction. Same direction. And the other one is we can go straight back and straight forward. Notice I go straight back, I don't stand up. The knee stays bent. Knee stays bent, covering toe. And so those are a couple of things that we covered last time. We're going to do a real quick review. So standing, shoulder width, natural, relaxing the chest, letting the breath happen. We've been working mystical diagrams and fire, water with the breath. We're just going to just relax and breathe, more like what a baby does. Okay, breathe in. Hands go to shoulder level. Right there, waist level, let the fingers relax. And the knees. Turn out the right foot, shift the weight to the right. Left hand is holding a ball underneath. You're on the toes of the left foot. Step, heel, toe, hands brush, separate, back foot, toe turns in. Chest level, waist level. Nose, navel this way, knee and toe that way. Careful for that. Okay? Okay. Weight is firmly on the right foot, on the toes of the left. Step heel toe left foot. And as brush, separate. Make sure that toe turns in. Check. Nose and navel, 45 degrees off the direction you're facing. Chest level, waist level. Okay, knee covers toe. Okay. Now, let's just review without the hand. And go. Keep this knee bent, raise onto the toes. Okay. Turn the waist a little bit more, 30-degree step, heel, toe. Back foot, toe turns in. Okay. And we're going to add the hands. Breathe in and out. Turn the toe in, right foot. Now, right hand holds the ball from underneath. You're on the toes of the right foot, turn away. 30-degree step. This hand comes up in an arc. Nose hip height. This hand like you're taking a pulse. This is push upward. Back foot, remember to turn it in. If you go this way, you're twisting your lower back and the knee. So, yeah. Okay. So, commencement. Check, make sure that back knee is turned in. Nose and navel, hand right here. Not too far or too close, just a natural circular movement. See a circle here. Okay. Right? And from this position, last time, lower the left hand, reverse your palms. Just pull back. I'll lower the right hand, turn it chest level. The left hand goes to the wrist. Rotate, press forward. Extend the arms. Now this time you go straight back and forward for the push. Nose to hip height as you go back goes to chest level. As you're going forward, goes back up to waist level. For now, keep the arms around, not. Okay. So this is a quick review. Let's, from here, pull back, press forward, and push. At the end of the push, you see the arms are not very natural. Nose tip height as you go back, chest level, back up to nose tip height. Okay. So that was what we did last Sunday. Now we're going to go forward into a couple of movements for today. And for that, there's a couple of new steps. The first of which is the Dingbo Step. So toes are turned out at 45-degree angles. So you bend the knees. Now, I'm going to shift the weight to the right. I'm going to put the left foot out, but keep the weight back. This is a toe or heel, toe, heel, in both. Distance between your thumb and your index finger here. Too wide, just about there. back. Now this time the weight is going to stay back here. We put toe out. Or you can put the heel down, the toes up about a foot. It's not this way or this way. And the distance between your knees. Toe. Heel. And this Master Choi called the Dingbo stance. It's kind of like in karate, they called it the cat stance. I don't know why, personally. But, all right. And from here, you see the foot is free. Boom, free. All right. Okay. All right. The other step that we're going to do today, for example, we had our first step at straight ahead, 90-degree step. Knee covers toe, back foot. Okay. Now you shift the weight back and you take a step back. It's a retreat step. Notice there's still a shoulder width as I'm stepping back. I'm not tightrope walking. Okay, so if we were to go from 90 degrees bow stance here, see this, it's important to keep the leg bent. Toe first, then heel. This looks like the Dingbo stance, except it's a longer, the weight is still back, but it's more 60-40. Right here, this is more like 95-5. Boom. And here, but if you check, and the back foot is still toe this way, right? So we have the Dingbo stance, and then we have the retreat step, and we have one more for today. There's a lot of new material today. And what we're going to do here, turn right foot in, shift the weight to the right. Notice how the knee stays bent. This is called cross step. And here, you see, you don't want to step over because you'll trip, or if you step out too wide, you're not crossing, you're just kind of walking like that, okay? So, we turn that foot in 45 degrees, feet are parallel. Shift the weight. Now this foot goes heel, so the toe and the heel are on a line. The step after that is easier for most, but 30 degrees is hard. But you're going to step heel, toe, 45 degrees. Still knee covers toe. And if you go back here, you'll realize there's a shoulder width back there. And the last part of it is heel, and that's the Dingbo posture. Not too high with us or twisted in the ankle, okay? So those are the foot movements for fist under elbow. Shift the weight, cross. Now you're going to step 45 degrees. Keep the weight here. Here, put the heel down. Toe up about no more than an inch. Okay? Those are a couple of the new foot moves. Now we're going to go through the hands for that. David, can you give me an update on the time? As usual, I forgot the clock.
Yeah, it's 12:45. 15
Okay,
minutes till what?
Yeah, we're doing okay. Okay, so the hands. Now here, we extend the arms out, but when the arms are extended out, it's not locked. There's a feeling right here. Like the earth appears to be flat, but we know it's not. So the arm is that way. It's straight, but it's not a flat surface. It's part of a larger globe or circle. Now you turn the right foot in, shift the weight to the right, left hand holds the ball from underneath. Now here, this is the crossfoot step. Don't do, boom. As you shift the weight on to the left leg, you're going to turn the edge of the palm like a chopping motion. The right hand is going to go down to a waist level. As you step 45 degrees, as I knee covers toe, I put the weight on that foot, I form a fist about forehead level. Now the weight is all the way there. I'm going to forward, fist goes under the elbow, right fist, left elbow. This is Dingbo, facing that direction. Okay? So, shift the weight back. As I shift the weight on to the left, right hand goes up and out, chopping motion, shoulder level, hand down, waist level, 45-degree step, grip the right fist. I'll shift back here a little bit. As you shift the weight onto the right foot, fist under elbow. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll kind of do it from this angle. So you get a view of it. Fist under elbow. That's one movement, but it's a long one. Okay? So, today we're going to take about 3 or 4 movements, depending on the time. Okay, so from here, shifting the weight back, hold the ball with the left hand underneath, cross foot step. Now you shift the weight onto the left foot, chop. Now, step 45 as you put the weight on the right leg, fist, forehead level. And weight is back, Dingbo, heel, right fist under left elbow. This is about nose tip height. Okay, that's a lot. Okay, and from here, we keep the weight back for now. Open the palm, put it to the waist. You're going to step back, toe, heel, raise, not just this way, but see the wrist rotates, ear level, repulse monkey, right foot turns so the toe faces straight. Open the fist, bring it to the side, rotate it, don't just raise it. It rotates. Ear level, step back, toe, heel. Right foot turns in, so it's facing there. Like a Dingbo stance, but it's 60 back, 40 forward, as opposed to Dingbo, it's about 95, 5. Okay, so that's called step back and repulse the monkey. Step back and repulse the monkey. All right, so let's review those first 2. Shift the weight back. Turn right foot in 45 degrees. Fist under elbow. Step back. Repulse the monkey. Make sure that right foot turns in. Now from this angle, what I want you to see, there's a tendency to tightrope walk. See, Aikido, we're in a triangle where something's coming at us, we move and rotate off the line. This is more of a boxing posture. So here, notice how when I step back at a diagonal, so heel. And this is important here, just to turn that in the end. And again, the weight stays down, but not set. Okay? Let's go again. The feet are parallel here. I turn that toe in 45 degrees. We're going to form fist, under, elbow. Now, step back, repulse the monkey. Okay, I check, I've got that shoulder width here on that step back. So 2 new moves so far. Okay, and now, so we went straight ahead, heel toe, back foot turns toe in. This time, we could do that same straight ahead step with the right foot. So we did 30 degrees. Now we're going straight ahead, heel toe, back foot turns toe in. Before we face nose, navel, 45 degrees off of straight ahead. But you go straight ahead, or sometimes later we'll tilt it so it's facing the knee without twisting the posture. So we're going to do the second one. We're going to go straight ahead. So from repulse the monkey, this is, we're going to shift the weight back, turn the waist, right hand holds the ball from underneath. This is turn and slanting flying. And we have that shoulder width. Just watching that motion again, I'll move a little bit forward. Okay. So we're going to turn, I'm on the toe right there. With the weight back, now the hip opens, heel toe, and it's brushed and separate, slanting flying, here and here. Okay. One thing that I like to do is I like sometimes to compare basketball and Tai Chi. For example, we did a ward off left motion. Well, you see this motion a lot because of basketball players protecting their dribble and their arms here. They can't push. Well, this is a ward off motion. And there's a picture I took in, gosh, it was a long time ago. It was pre-2010. I was living in the East Hills, and I was not really in the state. It was a little cottage I rented. It was beautiful. I wish that I was still there. All right. But there was a hoop against the wall. Somebody said that's a ghetto hoop. You don't have an overhang. Just put it up where you put it up. And there's a photo of me where I'm doing a finger roll. And I looked at the finger roll and I said, oh, that's slanting flying. Finger roll, you're bringing it up and it floats up. Slanting flying. Okay, so right about here. Turn. Slanting flying. Here, nose, navel, face straight. The inter line going straight, 90 degrees from the direction you were before. Back foot turns in. Nose hip height. Waist level. Okay, so let's repeat that. From the pulse monkey, turn. But here I'm on the toe, but I turn the waist a little bit more, take that step, and we form slanting flying. And let's see. This is great for full body, but sometimes when you're moving, you got to make sure you're centered on the screen. So we'll try to pay attention to that. So let's go from fist under elbow, step back, so that now turn and slanting flying. Back foot turns in. And let's review. I'll try to keep it on screen. From the push motion, shift the weight back, arms extend, but don't lock. Turn the foot in, right foot 45 degrees, shift the weight back. You're holding a ball, left hand underneath. Cross. Step. Okay, now this is all called fist under elbow. Okay, I'll move. Bring right hand in, not raise it this way or this way, but you rotate the wrist. Ear level, step back, go heel, but it's a retreat step. Okay. This goes out nose to height. This comes into the waist. This comes into the waist. Now I'm going to rotate the wrist, move on to the toes with the weight back, hold the ball right hand, heel toe step, slanting flying. Okay, if I check, there's somewhat of a shoulder width back there. Okay, so today we covered fist under elbow, repulse monkey, slanting flying. We're going to repeat that, and then we're going to go and try to iterate the movements from lesson 1. All will I try to stay on camera. Okay, all right. So, from the push, I'm going to move over here, shift the weight back, right foot in, 45 degrees, shift the weight back, left hand holds the ball from underneath, cross, this is fist, under, elbow. Weight is back, it's a heel position, Dingbo. Bring this to the side, rotate the wrist, step back, toe heel and step back. Turn the right toe in, repulse monkey. I'll shift my position a little bit. Now, rotate the waist beyond the toe here. Hold the ball, right hand underneath. Now, open step. This is slanting line. Okay? So those are 3 movements today. So, this doesn't quite follow my lesson pattern because I put 6 videos online, but it does cover a lot. Okay, David, what's the time like?
It's 1 minute before 1.
Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to go through from the beginning all the way through slanting flying. Okay, so, and I'll try to stay on camera. I may have to jiggle my position a little bit to do that. So again, relax the chest, breathe naturally. Okay, commencement of Tai Chi. Make sure that back foot turns in. Now you're holding a ball, right hand under, toe position, a little bit on the toes, turn the waist 30 degrees. Make sure the back foot turns in, push upward, pull back, press forward, and push. Turn. Today's movements, fist, under, elbow. I'm going to move a little bit forward so I can step back. Pulse the monkey, make sure that right toe turns in. Now hold the ball, right hand under, waist turns, toe position, 90-degree step, slanting flying. Okay. Remember, nose and navel face the original direction of commencement. Okay, so that's it for today. David, you've done some of this stuff before. Any observations?
It's really hard to follow when you're facing the camera instead of having your back to it.
Okay, well, we can try me from just once more, so we'll go a little over, where I'm facing the other direction. How's that?
I don't know whether it's just I'm used to looking at you from behind or what.
Yeah, okay, all right, well, we'll try it. Okay. I'm gonna have to keep tabs because it's a narrow screen. Actually, maybe what we can do, can I? Well, okay. Commencement. I'm going to shift position. Today's lesson, proposed monkey. Turn. You're on the way to back. This is slanting line. Let me see if I can do a little better. Okay. Does that help a little bit, David?
It was a lot easier for me to follow you that way just because I'm used to it, I think.
Sure. Yeah. The thing we can do is we can shift the angles a little bit. Okay, that's good feedback. Cliff, anything?
You know what David said, it was easier to follow with you facing the usual class direction, away from us, but I couldn't see your feet the last time.
That's the problem with the wide screen. The narrow screen, you get a full body shot, but you miss a lot as there's motion. But anyway,
all right.
Karen, if you're still with us, did you get anything out of just following the Tai Chi? No.
Yes, I did. I find it very interesting.
Oh, okay.
The problem is I can't stand up, so I can't follow along, but I found it really interesting. And also, I found the forward view really helpful because I haven't been training and watching you from behind. So seeing what you're doing that way, I found very useful.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Maybe what we should do is move the camera that way. We start out, but you've got to, I mean, the movements themselves are challenging. They seem like they're very basic, but every time I used to go see Master Choi, I would pick up a nuance, like, for example, my hand is in single loop this way, and then I look at his hand, and it's, it's different than, it's good enough for government work, so to speak, but just that little extra, well, oh, all right. So things like that, you pick up qualities. So it's a continual refinement. Even when you learn the basics of the form, you can continue to refine. Okay, anyway, yeah, I think enough for today. Well, actually, if some of you want to, we went into, see if I can, yeah. We went into, let's see, we're this way, yeah. At the beginning, we actually did a bit more of the sword, and we followed a little bit of what O-sensei said in the book, The Heart of Aikido. So kind of going over this, it says in Aikido, a single cut of a sword manifests the cosmic breath of heaven and earth. When a human being breathes, he or she breathes circularly on the exhalation and squarely on the inhalation. Let the essence of the universe circulate in your body and let it purify your senses. See, one of the things about being in this very material existence is that our senses get clogged up. I mean, you know what it's like when, you know, all of a sudden your nose is clogged or your lungs. These days, that's very serious, by the way, you know, when your lungs are congested, okay? But, you know, it's like you feel constrained, right? But living kind of in this matter-dense dimension, the senses get very, very, can be very clogged. And so essentially, to some degree, what he's describing with, you know, circular, square, in-breath, fire, circle, water, he's describing other sense modalities we have. And Robert Nadeau Sensei, he uses the term sense feel. So just the act of breathing in and out. I mean, that's what O-sensei wrote. I mean, I kind of, one time I asked Master Choi whether there was any Tai Chi work around sounds, because in Aikido we have the Kototama. And he said no. But there's a lot of breath work in Tai Chi, which sometimes is not obvious, okay? And so, you know, your sense of breath. See, we tend to think sense, I hear, I feel, touch, you know, vision, hearing, smell. But there's a larger, as I starts to go back to itself, other modalities of sense start to open up. So in a lot of ways, we're kind of, what he says, purify the senses. I think what he really means is go back to where you get other sense modalities. Okay? And let the essence of the universe circulate with your body and let it purify your senses. So as we go from what we call the Genkai, the material realm, into the Yukai, the hidden realm of energy movement, I mean, to make that gap, you are really starting to let your senses open. So Nadeau Sensei still does kind of, he said, what do you sense feel? And that sense feel sense can connect you to the finer realms or the hidden realms of energy. And if you just stay here, your senses are, they're kind of clogged up. And therefore, our perception of the world creates a perception of ourselves as being kind of very, very limited. Okay? Okay. The circle is in the form of water. The square is that of fire. Breathe in, square, out, circle. For example, breathe in. You're oxygenating the body. There's a lot of combustion that goes on. Now that's knowledge, but fire, combustion, water. Water can purify. So as you're breathing out maybe a lot of the impurities. Okay. Circular is the breath of heaven. So heaven represents purity. Okay. The other side of that is you're breathing out impurities. Water can cleanse. The expression to cleanse in Japanese is kyome. And when it would rain, Hikizuchi Sensei would say, Okiome. It's a cleansing. The water is cleansing. Okay? So you'd say it's the work of the kami. Square is the breath of earth. Well, the square is more of a grounding thing. But for me, square, fire and ground, water, air, heaven. So you're kind of getting heaven, earth, water, fire in the breathing. And what happens when my senses start to open, my mind goes from all the jumbled stuff that I need to do in this very material world, and I equate to I being here and I have to do things or whatever, to more clarity, deeper perception. My imagination comes in as an ally. See, up here, the imagination, I'm imagining all the worst case scenarios. All right. Imagination as an ally. What do you imagine, feel? And so that's a very important tool. But you know, actually what was kind of interesting was I got back from Japan, and Hikizuchi Sensei spoke a lot of Sensei's words, but it was so referenced in terms of Shinto. And a lot of times the interpretation of things was very difficult. And so, you know, I wound up actually, you know, like San Jose opened and Robert Nadeau asked me to be one of the original teachers. So I started coming over and he was teaching. He sold me the dojo a couple of years later, but initially I'd go there and I taught a couple of classes and I started going to his Monday night classes. And I was amazed that he was working the sense of sense feel. And so I said, that's a good tool to have. So all of a sudden, fire, square, water, circle, heaven, earth, breath of. You have to somehow, you can't solve that with the intellect of an eye. But you have to sort of get the imagined feel of the words. And that was a tool, and I've always been grateful because he introduced me to it, okay? I was aware, for example, that people like Ano Sensei and Tosmo Sensei, they were familiar with that. But, you know, being Japanese, they didn't talk about it very much. Hikizuchi Sensei, yes, but again, being in that culture, they didn't talk about it very much. And so I found what Nadeau Sensei was talking about in terms of sense, feel, imagine, feel. Woo, that was a real important tool for me, okay? True techniques are a combination of the breath of heaven and the breath of earth. This is what we must do in our training and trust that all the myriad gods of heaven and earth will protect and guide us. Aikido is our mission, a mission we should be eternally grateful for. So, you know, that's a pretty big thing, but, you know, he's really talking about that the universe is a creation with many energies or forces. And a lot of Osensei stuff is very shamanistic. Therefore, nature is sentient, intelligent. And even on a more abstract, hidden level, the whole universe is a creation of different energies or forces. And since we come out of the universe, we have an ability or capacity to communicate. And so, our normal way of thinking, I in biological matter, right? Self as I in biological matter in a very, very dense universe. Our senses get extremely constricted. So he's saying certain things like breath, and he's using images to get us into more of a sense feel or imagine feel place. And as we do that, then our perception of the universe shifts. It's also energy. And so that part of Aikido, to some degree, is not being emphasized very much. Now, if you let your imagination go wild, all right, maybe that's not good. But on the other hand, just using your imagination, which is the more original soul aspect of mind, that's my sense. Intention is a more soul aspect of body. Imagination, intention, mind, body, water, fire, heaven, earth. Those are things that again are words, but as we start to get a little bit more into the capacity to imagine, feel, sense, feel. See, we have to have that in order to understand those sensei's words. And that right there is, if you're a little too concrete, a movement. And certain times, you kind of wonder, I think it was one of the last classes, we were kind of doing some stretching. And I started to get the sense that the interior of the body was like molasses. It was thick fluid. And then what happens is you start to move in ways that, you see a tree grow with time-lapse and lapse photography. You have the time-lapse photography, boom, boom. So your motion starts to come out of boom, 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 or sword cuts, boom, start to come out of the hidden realm, because you're sensing the energies that allow you to go past the limitations of the manifest realm and I, self as I, here, locked in biological matter, in matter. Everything is energy, and everything is alive, everything vibrates, everything talks. And so that's, I like that stuff, because for me, we were discussing last time love. What's my primary love? Anything that excites my imagination. And what that tends to do, if it does that, then I go on a journey. There's a sense of imagination, a sense of adventure, exploration. And of course, you bump into, there are levels of love, okay? But that's me on a very primal level. If something doesn't appeal to my imagination, ultimately I won't pursue it at any great depth. But if it appeals to my imagination, then I begin a journey. Okay, mind, body, spirit, whatever. Anyway, let me. Anybody with an observation? So we got into the, the ability, just from that, unclogging the senses, starting to branch out, acquire the ability to what Nado Sensei calls, sense feel or imagine feel. It's very difficult to get the deeper truths about the universe or ourselves if we don't have that. Anybody with a question or observation on that? Anybody?
Sure. Just the obvious about you need a certain level of health in order to, have the unclogged senses. Like right now, in addition to everything else, it's allergy season. And
Yeah.
I've got hay fever. The girls have hay fever. The boy, to an extent, has hay fever. So, we're doing what we can to not have clogged senses. And that's sort of the first level of the building, the first floor, the lobby, rather than like being in the basement.
Well, this dimension is that you get a lot of obstacles. And, like hay fever or allergies. And one of the things that, Nado Sensei actually wrote a poem, which was very out of character, all right? And the poem was something like, limitations all along the way, except in the deep, dark downtime. The passage or the gateway to finer, more original. So, the point is that, I think we covered this last time, is that you actually find something that you love. Okay, and for me, it's something that really excites my imagination. And then allergy season comes up. Do you see what I mean? And so there's kind of what and if you go to a certain place with it, it distracts you, it puts you off course. So, it's part of what Nado Sensei calls it's a downtime. Right now, this is tremendous downtime because of the coronavirus. It's downtime. And so what is downtime? Downtime is about more depth, getting closer to the roots. And when limitations pop up, we usually bounce off them and go back into, the clogged place, the limited place. And so, just say, okay, it's a downtime. It's just being very easy with it. Okay? And so allergy season, yeah, it is allergy season. And that's a downtime. And he said the gateway to finer, more original. Okay, so it's downtime, but if you settle with it, go more towards the roots of it. Well, that's where the nourishment really comes from, is the roots. And so the downtime usually means that, you can't pursue something as outwardly as you like because of factors, but to actually go into the depth of things and to experience it. And in Doctor Who terms, you regenerate. Okay? And so that's one of the challenges, obstacles all along the way. Okay? Anybody else? Or anything in addition, Cliff?
No, that gave me something to think about. Thank you.
Yeah. Because a lot of times we kind of look at the obstacles and we go, Hikitsuchi Sensei used to have all these expressions like, ちょっと困ったな. Komaru, komata is bothersome. Boy, that's really a bummer. He would say that stuff a lot. ちょっと困ったな. It was the Japanese have their ways of kind of getting it out. you know. And so it's downtime. It's like, and as opposed to, oh my God, it's the downtime, it's going to weigh me down. Yeah, that's a bummer. And then you kind of like feel it, and it doesn't have to cut your energy off or cut you off from your journey. Okay, anybody else with a question or?
Sensei, this is Bonnie. I wanted
Hi.
to say thank you. Hi, Sensei. Sorry. I
By
was
the
late.
way, I friended you on Facebook.
Thank you. It's good
Yeah.
to have you.
Yeah, social media, the power of it.
What you said, that love being anything that excites your imagination, is something that I took notes, taking to heart, because especially for me, post-service, I'm in a complete downtime after a full career, trying to figure out what I love again, where I'm living, who my friends are, what my hobbies are, everything from square one. So that I can feel is going to be an awesome focus for me on where to move forward as I decide to move forward. Another thought, something you said that reminded me of a different meditation, the square fire, earth, circle, water, heaven, in the inhale, exhale. It reminds me of a meditation somebody walked me through before, where I'm going to get the vocabulary wrong, but where you inhale maybe negative energy, or inhale something that needs to be healing, or maybe you have a family member that's sad or sick with COVID, but you inhale that energy or that feeling, and you exhale like love and healing energy. And as you were talking through the concepts of the fire or water, that meditation instantly came to mind as, oh, this is the same thing. So it's inhaling a life of something that, you know, it doesn't have to be bad, but inhaling a fire and exhaling a harmony or a water, the heaven, to help bring it to a more harmonious state. So that just came to mind for me from what you said, those two things. So thank you very much. And a final question for later, but on YouTube, I didn't see number 3 for the Tai Chi.
Oh, okay, it's there somewhere. It's I got to post them on the Facebook pages for the dojo and everything. So that's to be done, so to speak. Anybody else with an observation or yeah? The whole thing, for example, if you go like this and you put your hands here, and you know, just energy flow hands to hands. What do you feel? You feel like a current. That's sense feel. There is somebody said, "What are you doing?" Well, there's a current of energy going from right to left, left to right. Okay? And somebody looks at you and says, "No, there isn't." But you are in a sense feel experience. All right? And so, you know, we're really so limited dimensionally when we, so when he says you got to kind of purify your senses, I think what he's really saying is, you know, we go back to the more original, we're very easy with the eye. And then a lot of these other dimensions open up. And the degree to which we get caught, just I in this dense world, the more we just stay kind of, I mean, it's a little bit like allergy season that never ends, right? Or it's like having asthma. You're gonna be challenged to breathe, right? But you know, one of the things about it, the downtime, is that what I've kind of noticed is a lot of times, you know, like Sadahadu, he hit like 800 and some odd home runs, and he studied with O-sensei, although not on the mat, but he studied Aikido through baseball. And the way that he would put it, he says that, you know, I don't pray to get anything. I pray for the strength to overcome things. And I thought that was kind of very revealing, because O-sensei had to overcome many things. He was, apparently his whole life, he suffered from liver and stomach issues. Eventually, he died of liver cancer, right? And so, you know, but he, I'm sure, ran into limitations all along the way. But somehow, you see, he, instead of that, boy, I want that, is, you know, there's probably some obstacles for me between me and what I want. And instead of praying to get what I want, maybe what I should do is pray to get the strength to overcome those obstacles. Because if I get what I want, but I still am stuck in some really negative or undeveloped place with myself, then I'm probably going to mess up with what I wanted. So, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, the limitations along the way. And if we kind of say, okay, it's a downtime, then we can be easy with it. You know, a lot of times what you kind of run into with the downtime, you run into dark. And, you know, Osensei kind of, that's one of the things that he references, but it's not obvious. One of my you know, my major quotes I actually get from the biography of him by his son, Hishomaru. And one of the things he says, he's really talking about all the positives of Aikido. And this was something he wrote really towards the end of his life. And he says, and don't neglect the importance of the Nenokuni in this. Nenokuni is the underworld. Literally, the Nenokuni, Japanese Shinto is interesting because death is considered to be impure. So if you die, you go into an impure dimension. So, but he's saying, you know, that don't neglect the Nenokuni. And Izanagi, male archetype, really pissed off Izanami, female goddess archetype, because she basically went into the underworld and she told him, don't follow. And of course, you know, being the impetuous male archetype, he didn't listen to her, and he did. And she got so angry at him that she sick these incredible spirits that chased him through the different realms, right? And the way that Osensei puts it in the Secret Teachings, when he finally got away from all those things that she sicked on him, he wasn't a god anymore. And so he found this river, the river Odo, and he just soaked there. And he kind of got his godhood back. And so that's interesting. You know, one way of looking at it is that we're all gods and goddesses, but we get caught up. We've been sort of chased out of that original place of being divine, and we're kind of stuck here. Our senses clogged up, you know, attuned to just material fears. And so having that experience, he went into the underworld and reacted, but then he found the river. And instead of trying to do anything, all he did was soak there. And Odo is a lot like Oto, which is sound. So Osensei was into, he was in the Kototama. That was maybe one of his ways of being in that river and soaking there. So if you just put your hands out and just feel that current, you're out of the ordinary, believe me. Now, if you can put your hands down and feel a whole field or current, you're in the current of an energy field. You're really way past the norm. And if you start to kind of feel a column forming around here, which is the core center of that field, and then you start to feel movement, that the field has this motion that's organized around and through that center. And the field itself can go out spherically, but that sphere can rotate, creating spiral movements. Or those spiral movements can all of a sudden tangentially move and create lines. Then you are in a much more magical dimension. And if you kind of trace back, you're probably, what do we do? Well, to find that river, because when you start to see the dark, a lot of times what happens is we react to it. But I think really the lesson there is that the underworld was to teach Izanagi to be comfortable with that downtime. And instead of being chased up by all that energy and put into this rather dense and non-divine place, he found that river and just sort of relaxed, because, you know, you go, okay, that's a great story, but there's a river that's healing. And so if you kind of have your allergies, try soaking in that river. Okay? So for me, you know, the ability to, in some sense feel gives us a tool to explore not just offensive stuff, but almost anything. Okay? Anyway, any more questions or comments? Okay, well, anyway, what I'm going to do is call it for today. I really thank you for tuning in. Okay, David, thank you for setting it up as usual. So I'm going to leave the meeting. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei. Thank you, David.
Bye-bye.
Nice to see you, Karen and Bonnie.
Thank you, Sensei David. Good to see everyone.
Bye-bye.
Matane.
Bye, Cliff. Hi, David.
Hi, Karen.
How are you?
Okay.
Here. Just a second. Lost you. We're still recording.